Hi, welcome to my video on find the equation of a line using the slope of a perpendicular line. And this is part 2. Part 1 was done in the previous video. Equation using perpendicular lines. Let's do some examples. Find the equation of a line perpendicular to. So it's going to be perpendicular to this line, y equals mx plus b. So the slope of this line right here is -2. So the perpendicular line has a slope of reciprocal is 1/2 and it's positive. And has the same y-intercept as this line. So this is y equals mx plus b again, where the slope is 1, the y-intercept is 5. So the y-intercept of this line is 5. So the equation of the line and point in the slope y-intercept form is y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Again, perpendicular to this one, negative reciprocal slope, and the same y-intercept as this one. Notice that this line is the y-intercept of 5. This line is the y-intercept of -3. So they got perpendicular, slope is 1/2, and the same y-intercept as this one. That's the answer. B, perpendicular to this line and the same y-intercept as this one in slope y-intercept form. Well, if it's, let's see, here's the line. So what we have to do is solve this equation for y. Y equals mx plus b, so 4y equals -3x plus 4. We divide by -4. Each term by -4, so they cancel out, so y is equal to negative over negative is positive, so it's 3 over 4x minus 1. So the slope of this line, this is y equals mx plus b, so the slope is 3/4, and the perpendicular slope, or the slope of the perpendicular line, is plus, make it a minus, and reciprocal is a 4/3. And has the same y-intercept of this line. So let's take this line and solve it, take this equation and solve it for y to get the y-intercept. Or we could do it two ways. If we want the y-intercept, we let x equal 0 is the fast way. So if we let x equal 0, -7, x is 0, plus 3y plus 6 equals 0. So -7 times 0 is 0, that's gone. So 3y equals -6 divided by 3, and y equals -2. So the y-intercept is -2. So it has this slope with this y-intercept. So y equals -4 over 3x minus 2. We could have solved this equation for y and come up with y equals -2. So that's the equation in the slope y-intercept form. C, perpendicular to the line through these 2 points and the same x-intercept as this one, 4x minus y equals 16, in slope x-intercept form. So perpendicular to this one, so the slope is y2, again, x1, y1, x2, y2. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that slope, y2 is 5, minus y1 is -1, x2 is 4, minus x1 is 2, double negative is a positive, so that's 6 over 2. So the slope of this line is 3. So the slope of the perpendicular line is, that's a plus, so we make it a minus, and it's a 1/3, because the 3 is understood to be 3 over 1. So reciprocal is 1 over 3. And has the same x-intercept as this line. And how do we get the x-intercept? Well, let y equals 0. If we let y equals 0 in this equation, we will come up with the x-intercept. So 4x minus is 0, so we let y equal 0, so 4x minus 0 is 4x is 16, divided by 4, so x is 4. It's the x-intercept, and we want it into the slope x-intercept form. So the slope x-intercept form is y equals m outside of x minus r. Again, not a lot of discussion in equation of lines on this form, but I like to do it. So the slope is negative 1/3, and the x-intercept is 4, so we make it a minus 4 when we put in the equation. So there's the equation in slope x-intercept form. Notice the x-intercept is 4, opposite of what's there, and that's the slope of negative 1/3. D, perpendicular to this line with the same y-intercept as this equation. So perpendicular to this, so from this equation, we have a point. This is the point slope form. So the point is 2, negative 7, and the slope of this line is negative 6. So the perpendicular slope, that's a negative 6 over 1. So the perpendicular slope is a positive 1 over 6. Negative is a positive reciprocal. And the y-intercept of this line, well, let's write down the equation of this line. To get a y-intercept, we let x equals 0. So we're going to let x equals 0 in the equation. When we let x equals 0, we get a 0 minus 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6, and y equals 6 plus 4, so y equals 10. So remember, we let x equals 0, so that's a y-intercept. That's 0, 10. So we want it in standard form. So the equation is y equals 1/6 x, and that's the same y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 10, just to make sure. There's the equation, and y equals mx plus b. But we want standard form. So we'll move the 1/6 over to make it a minus 1/6 plus y equals 10. Standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers, and a is not supposed to be equal to a negative number. A is not supposed to be negative. So let's multiply. We got a fraction and we got a negative. So let's multiply both sides by negative 6. And negative times a negative is positive. 6 times 1/6 is 1. So that's 1x. Negative 6 times y is negative 6 y, and a negative 16. So there's the standard form. A is 1, B is negative 6, C is negative 60. E, perpendicular to this line, which has this equation through this point, and we want it in point slope form. Well, we have our point. Let's go and find the slope. So to get the slope, we need to work this equation out. We have to find the slope of this line, so we have to solve it for y. So before we solve for y, let's find the LCD. The LCD, we have a 4, we have a 10, and we have a 5. 4 is 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5, and we have a 5. And that's 2 squared. So the LCD, like the least common multiple, we have a 2, we have a 5. So we have to pick the highest exponent of any one of these factors. So that's a 2 and a 1. So that's 4 times 5. So the LCD for these denominators are 4, 10, and 5 is 20. In other words, 4, 10, and 5 will divide into 20. So what we're going to do is multiply each side by 20. But at the same time, we're going to multiply each term by 20. And that way, we'll do it faster. So 4 into 20 goes 5, so that becomes a 5x. 10 into 20 goes 2, so negative 2 times y is negative 2y. 5 into 20 goes 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Now, if we solve this equation, that's standard form, but solving it for y will give me the slope y-intercept form. So y equals negative 2y equals 5 moves over to become negative, and that's a plus sign right there. You better be careful. There's the equal sign. Move the 5 over, make it negative, and divide both every term by negative 2. Cancels. Y equals negative over negative is positive, so it's 5 over 2x minus 4. So the slope of this line, but it's perpendicular, so slope of this line is 5 over 2. This is y equals mx plus b, so the slope is 5 over 2. The y-intercept is negative 4, so the perpendicular slope is negative 2/5. And it's going through the point 15, negative 3. So point slope form, y plus 3 equals slope negative 2/5 times x minus 15. So we change the y negative to positive. We change the plus 15 to a minus when we put it into the point slope form along with the slope of negative 2/5. Okay, so that's some extra practice. I'm doing the slope of a vertical line, which is negative reciprocal, and working out different forms of equation. Now I have some, if you want to practice these yourself, and pause the video, excuse me, pause the video and work each of these out before I do them, and work them out, play it back to see if you're right, and if so, perfect. Find equation of a line perpendicular to this one. So if it's perpendicular to this one and has the same y-intercept as this line with this equation, then we had to put it in slope y-intercept form. So the slope of this line right here, that's a 1. So the slope of that line is 1, because this is y equals mx plus b. Slope is 1, y-intercept is negative 4. So the perpendicular slope, the slope of the perpendicular line is negative reciprocal. Positive is a negative, reciprocal of 1 is 1. Has the same y-intercept of this line. So if I write down this equation, and how do I get the y-intercept? Well, it's already solved for me. So y equals mx plus b. So b is 2. b is my y-intercept. y equals mx plus b. That's the form. So there's my y-intercept. Slope is negative 3. So I have an equation, which is that slope, which is negative x plus the y-intercept of 2. That's understood to be negative 1. There's a 1 there. Number 2, perpendicular to this line with the same y-intercept of this one. So perpendicular to this one means, let's take this equation and solve it for y. 9y equals negative 3x minus 9. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. Y equals 3 into 3 goes once. 3 into 9 goes 3. So that's a negative 1/3 x. Negative divided by positive is a negative 1. So the slope of this line is negative 1/3. So the perpendicular slope is positive 3 reciprocal. 3 over 1. But it's the negative reciprocal, opposite reciprocal. And it has the same y-intercept as this one. So let's write down this equation. Same y-intercept as this one. So we get the y-intercept, we got 2 ways. I'll do the 2 of them just for a bit of fun. One way to get the y-intercept is let x equals 0. And when you let x equals 0, if you want to do it the fast way, you can sub a 0 in for x and solve it for y. So here goes the 0 in. That's a 0 minus 2y equals negative 8. Negative 2y equals negative 8. Divide by negative 2. Y is 4. So the y-intercept is 4. That means the equation is y equals, the slope is 3 and the y-intercept is 4. That's the equation of the line that's perpendicular to this one, having the same y-intercept as this one. But I said I could do this one another way. Let's take this equation and solve it for y. Negative 2y equals negative 10x minus 8. Divide by negative 2. Cancels. Y equals 5x plus 4. The slope of this line is 5. The y-intercept is 4. So if you took this equation and solved it for y, you get y equals mx plus b. Slope is 5. Y-intercept is 4. So we want the y-intercept of this line, so we would have picked up y is 4. So this is the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is b. B is 4. So y equals mx plus b. The slope is 3. Y-intercept is 4. The y-intercept is 4 here. So if I did it this way, I would say b is 4 and plug it in. This slope with this y-intercept. So there's two ways to get the y-intercept. The fastest way is this way. Watch, it's even faster. If you let x equal 0 to get the y-intercept, what we can do is, well, just watch. Cross that out, because 10 times 0 is 0. So now we got right down to right here. Negative 2y equals negative 8. So you would avoid doing all this. But that's only if you're used to and you know what you're doing. Number 3 is going to be perpendicular to this line with the same x-intercept as this one. Okay. Perpendicular to this line. So again, review. This line, this is the point slope form. The point is 2 and negative 1. And the slope is 6. Y. So if the slope is 6, the perpendicular slope, the slope of the perpendicular line, is a negative 1/6. Remember, 6 is understood to be 6 over 1. The same x-intercept as this line. That will let me write down that line, the equation of that line, that is. We want the x-intercept, so the fastest way to get an x-intercept is let y equals 0 and solve the equation. Let y equals 0, that's easy. Done. 0 plus 6 is 6. Negative 3 times x. Negative 3 times negative 4. And we're solving it for x, so 3x equals 12 minus 6. X goes to the left, become plus, and 6 goes to the right, become a minus. So 3x equals 6. Divide by 3. X equals 2. So the x-intercept is 2. So if we want, we have a x-intercept is 2, so we could do two ways. We could put it x-intercept is 2, so we go y equals m times x minus r. And the slope is negative 1/6. And the x-intercept is 2, so we make that a negative 2. And we continue to work out this equation. And a negative times a negative is a positive. And 1/6 times 2. 1 over 6 times 2 over 1 gives you 2 and 1. 2 and 2 goes 1, 2 and 6 goes 3. So that's a positive 1/3. Negative times a negative is a positive. And 2 times 1/6 is 1/3. Now we want to change this to standard form, so the x goes to the left side to become positive. Y is already there, and the 1/3 is positive. So the x moves over because standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers, and a is not allowed to be negative. So I move the x over. The LCD for 6 and 3 is 6. So we multiply both sides by 6. And again, I'll do it this way. Okay, here we are. Multiply both sides by 6 to remove the fractions. So that's the same as going 6 times 1/6 and 6 times y. So the multiply both sides by 6 means to multiply all the terms of the equation by 6. So 6 times the first one, 6 times the second one, 6 times the third. The 6's cancel. I get a 1, so that's an x. 6 times y is 6y. And 3 into 6 goes 2, so that gives me 2. So there's the standard form. Standard form, ax plus by equals c. Where a, b, and c are integers, and a can't be negative. Practice. Again, pause the video and work out these. Do them one at a time. Equation of the line perpendicular to this one. Let's see. That's the line. Y equals, that's a horizontal line. Let's see. Y equals 3. Let's have a look. Y equals 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So y is 4. So y equals 3 is right there. That means we have a horizontal line. Y is 3 all the way along. So that means because it's a horizontal line, the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So the line perpendicular to that is going to be undefined, because perpendicular to a horizontal line is a vertical line, very straight up and down. So a vertical line, undefined slope, that means it's through this point. So it goes through the vertical, so going through the point 2, 1. So what we have perpendicular to this line going through the point 2, 1, this is the line that we're looking at, this one. So if it's a vertical line has an undefined slope. That can't go into the y-intercept form. So a vertical line is x equals. And what's the x coordinate? 2. So there's the equation of that vertical line. A vertical line is x equals. It's x equals the x coordinate of a point. Notice on this vertical line, x is always 2. X is 2. This is 2, 0. This point right here is 2, 1. This point right here is 2, 2. This point right here is 2, -1. X is always 2 on this line, so that's why the equation is x equals 2 for this vertical line. The line through these 2 points is perpendicular, we want, and the same x-intercept as this one. And we got to put it into y equals x, slope, x-intercept form. So through this line, so we got a slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Here we go. Y2 is 9, minus, that minus is right there. And that's a 5, y1 is a 5. x2 is 2, minus x1 is -3. And what we have is double negative, so we make it a positive. 9 minus 5 is 4. And 2 plus 3 is 5. And we want the line perpendicular to that. So the slope of this line is 4/5. We want the perpendicular slope. Slope of the perpendicular line is a -5/4. And it's the same x-intercept as this one. So how do we get an x-intercept? We can do it 2 ways. Fastest way is let y equals 0 to get the x-intercept. So 0, -7x minus 28. Move the 7x over to make a plus. And divide by 7. So x equals -4. So the x-intercept is -4. In other words, that's the point. When you let y equals 0, which we did, we come up with x is -4. So that's the x-intercept. X is -4. And we want the slope x-intercept form. So the slope is -5/4. And the x-intercept is -4, so that's an x plus 4. So that's the y equals m outside of x minus r. That's the slope x-intercept form. We could have done that another way too. We could have write that as a factor. We could have taken the 7 out as a common factor. So -7x divided by -7 is 1x. negative 28 divided by negative 7 is a plus 4. So notice we have this equation. So the x-intercept, right here, the x-intercept is negative 4, because the slope is negative 7. So this form right here, this equation right here is just like this. So that means the slope is negative 7 and the x-intercept is negative 4. So if I had done that, I would have come up with the negative 4, as well as putting 0 in like I did here to come up with the negative 4. So either way, I could do it two ways, this way or this way. But most people, if you let y equal 0, you get the x-intercept. So there's the equation. And number 6, we perpendicular this one through this point. So we already have the point. And let's work out the slope of this line. Now, how do we get the slope? Well, first of all, let's remove the fractions. So the LCD, we have a 4, we have a 3, and we have a 6. So if you say the LCD is what number will 6 and 4 and 3 will divide into? So the smallest one is 12. The least common denominator is like a least common multiple. But let's look at another way. 4 is 2 times 2, which is 2 squared. 3 is a 3. 6 is 2 times 3. And the LCD is, we write down each factor. We have a 2 and we have a 3. And we take the largest exponent of 2, which is 2. The largest exponent of 3 is 1. So that's 4 times 3, 12. That's another way to get it. Or you can just eyeball it and say 12. In that case, we multiply both sides by 12. What we're now doing is, by multiplying by 12, we're eliminating the fractions in this equation. And you can only do this when you have an equation, because you're balancing both sides. And again, 12, you can make it better by multiplying 12 by each term, just like I'm doing here. So if you multiply both this side by 12, left side by 12, and the right side by 12, sometimes it's, rather than write this down, multiply each of these terms by 12, like right here. And you don't have to do that one. When you do it this way, what happens is you can see 4 into 12 goes 3. That gives you 9x. 3 into 12 goes 4, and you get an 8y. 6 into 12 goes 2, and you get 2. Putting the 12 with each term, you can do your cancellation and not less chance of making error. And we need the slope. So this is the standard form. So to get the slope, we solve for y. Y equals negative 9x plus 2, and we divide by 8. The 8 cancels out, negative 9 over 8x, and 2 into 2 goes, that's a 2, so 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 8 goes 4. So the slope of this line is negative 9 over 8. Remember now it's perpendicular to this one, so the perpendicular slope is 8 over 9. So we have a point slope, we have a slope, and we need the point slope form, just to write it down. There it is. And the point is y plus 5. Slope is 8 over 9, and an x minus 8. There's the point slope form. When you put the point in this form, the y changes to a plus and the x changes to a minus, and perpendicular is a negative reciprocal. So there's the equation of the line in the point slope form. That brings us to the end of finding the equation of a line in different forms using the slope of the perpendicular lines. Remember, negative reciprocals. If you like my video, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button and the notification bell, because there's more videos coming your way. And write a comment on my video if you wish. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. And I have 3 sections. Me section talks about my degrees and teaching experience. The video section talks about the strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. The content section has the topics and the number of videos on each of those topics on my YouTube channel. And the black font is what's online right now, and the red font is what's on the line in the near future. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.